Welcome into the Stack Shack Sports Show. Today we're doing video 1 and 2. Be on the lookout for the double upload today of our 2024 NFL preview. There are 31 days. I ended up miscounting. That's why we got a double upload today. But we're going to have 31 straight days of NFL coverage as we preview every single team, who they added, who they lost, where are their biggest weaknesses, what are the big games to be looking for. We're going to do that here on this channel over the next 31 days, leading right up to Ravens-Chiefs. We're going to start out in the AFC East, starting with the Buffalo Bills. I'd say they had one of the more tumultuous off seasons as they lost some big-name players that you're going to recognize. But they also, I think, did an okay job of addressing that. So your key additions this season are really targeted at replacing those key losses, and the key losses being kind of your two leading receivers in a way, right? Stephon Diggs moves on, Gabe Davis also moving on, and then you lost Leonard Floyd, kind of a linebacker defensive end. All three of those, I think for people around the league, those are names you know, and so when you hear, oh man, we're losing all three of these important players and more, but those were kind of the three key losses. And this is going to be the format as we go through the previews. We're going to look at the key losses, the key additions, and the player personnel, and a little review of what they did last season. So losing Stephon Diggs, I think, is going to be big. He obviously wasn't used as much towards the end of last season. Some would say that's maybe a problem. Others would say that was good. They finally got a bit of a running game going. They decide to move on from Stephon. They decide to move on from Gabe Davis. What did they do? Well, they went and got Curtis Samuel in the offseason, bring him in from Washington. I think that was a good pickup. And then they immediately started to try and address it in the draft. Their first pick, now it wasn't in the first round. It was a second-round pick because they didn't have a first-round pick. But their first selection in the draft was Keon Coleman. Solid wide receiver, but it's a rookie. Obviously unproven. They also picked up Nicholas Morrow in the offseason. Again, immediately just trying to address the losses. Last season, 11-6 on the year. They kind of had that run at the end to make the playoffs. They ended up losing in the divisional round. They won wild card round, then lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs. It's just what happens to the Bills. It seems like every year they can't get over that hump. So, they weren't getting over the hump with Stephon and Gabe. Let's see if they can get over the hump with Curtis and Keon. Important games to look out for. Week 2 at Miami. It's an early game, but a big Week 2 matchup away, right? They're out in Florida at Miami as they then have to go at the Ravens in Week 4. Then towards the end of the season, crunch time. Obviously, I'm sure most Bills fans are circling Week 11 versus the Chiefs. Now, they get the Chiefs at home, which is a benefit. They don't have to go play at Arrowhead. And then Week 13, they also get the Niners at home. So some big out-of-division games. Obviously, Miami being an in-division matchup. Want to get off to a good start there. And it'll be interesting to see against Miami, against Baltimore, maybe even more specifically, because Baltimore's historically very solid defense. Do they feel the pains of no Stephon Diggs and no Gabe Davis? If we're looking at the rest of the schedule here, you can see they somewhat have a trap game there against Jacksonville, but thankfully Jacksonville is at home, but a little bit of back and forth there, which you don't always love to see. I could have put the Houston Texans game on there. Could have been interesting. But they get Kansas City, then the bye, then San Francisco. So although we look in Week 11, Week 13, what's in between? Well, it's a bye. So that should help them, should help the Buffalo Bills as they go through. They're going to have to get back to the way that they were winning games at the end of last season. How was that? It was running the ball, letting Josh Allen do Josh Allen things, but taking the pressure off of him to be the entire running game. They need to run the ball well. That's what they did at the end of last season, and I think it's what gave them the confidence to say, you know what, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, you're expensive. Some would say Diggs is a little needy, although he did seem to always show up in the biggest of games. But they say, you know what? Go ahead. We can let you go. And I think they really found that confidence at the end of the season running the ball well. So look for Buffalo to be a high-powered running offense. And then we just got to see what Keon Coleman can do. We know Curtis Samuel is a solid wide receiver. He was solid in Washington with less than ideal quarterback play. Pair him up now with Josh Allen. It's time, right? This is going to be Josh Allen's team. That is going to be the focus, and we're going to have to see how it all works out. As just some final review points, PFF offense and defense last year, both in the top 10, offense tied for 7th, and then the defense slotting in there at 8th position. So this is a good team. There's a lot of turnover, though, in that wide receiver room. So that's going to be the biggest thing. Can Josh Allen and these new receivers, if you look actually at the overall offseason moves by the Bills, they signed so many wide receivers. So Curtis Samuel, that's the big one. But they also brought in Chase Claypool, Mac Hollins, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, they're loading up on wide receiver, and you can tell why. They lost really almost all their production besides the slot in the wide receiver room. So can they get enough production out of kind of this wide receiver by committee kind of situation? Obviously, losing Leonard Floyd hurts as that edge piece. And again, you look at their lineup, where are they hurting on defense? Probably edge and linebacker, which is kind of that Leonard Floyd position there where he mostly played on the edge, but they're depending on the package, could definitely slot in as a linebacker. They did bring in a new linebacker, Nicholas Morrow. Not the best, PFF ranked of 142, but he's going to have big shoes to fill and really going to have to step up and make some plays and make an impact. If you look at their overall draft, again, Keon Coleman as that round 2 pick. They also picked up a safety from out of Utah. Not really a linebacker until round 5. It makes me think that they could be a little bit susceptible there at linebacker. D-end, again, they picked him in round 5, but I would have liked to see them maybe address some of those needs a little sooner, although center was definitely another kind of weak point coming in from last season. If you look at McGovern, they're not the highest ranked center. So we'll see if the rookies can play well. Coleman's going to be, I think, the key. If he's a standout, if he bursts on the scene, really takes over the league here, they're going to be in good shape. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Very curious to hear from some Bills fans. How are you feeling going into this year? A lot of new faces in that wide receiver room. Love to hear your thoughts down below, and we'll see you next time.